Hello, welcome. In today's video, I am going to be reading my favorite BookTubers 5-star reads, starting with The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This recommendation comes from Faith. I will be linking all of my favorite YouTubers down below that I mentioned in today's video. Faith is where I go for all of my mystery thriller recommendations. That's like primarily what she reads, and I've been excited to read this book for a while. I think there is a movie coming out in December, so I really wanted to read this year. My husband's read it, Faith has read it. I am the last person to be reading this book, but I'm really excited. My husband liked it, and it's obviously a 5-star from Faith. That's what I was gonna do. I'm like, I'm missing something. I was going to read Faith's review on this book. She says, Verity meets Finley Donovan is killing it. I've read Verity, hated it. Have not read Finley Donovan is killing it, so hopefully it's more like the latter, which I kind of got those vibes anyway. The Housemaid, I figured it would take place in a house with an outsider like Verity, so hopefully that's the only comparison. I binged this in one day. I will say though, it was triggering for me, abusive relationships, but also felt very empowering at the end. Wow, I can't wait for the second one. Okay, that's good to know about the trigger warnings. I always forget to look up trigger warnings until I start getting triggered, and then I look up what else is coming. So that's good to know, because the last book I read was pretty triggering for me too, in sort of the same way, abusive relationships and such. So that's just wonderful. But I knew what I was getting into when I pick up a mystery thriller. Like, it's not gonna be happy sunshine. But she said she binged it in one day, so hopefully I'll be able to do the same. I have one thing to do today, and the rest of the day I'm going to be reading. I have been not really in a slump, but it has taken me longer than it probably should to be reading lately. I'm hoping to finish all 3 of the books I'm going to be reading in today's video in about 2 weeks. I feel like 2 weeks for 3 books with how my brain is working right now is pretty good. And fun fact, I only have 2 books left to read until I hit my 2025 goal, and we're only halfway through the year, so that is crazy. I'm so excited. My 2025 goal is 25 books. Not very much, but I only got to like 27 books last year, so the fact that we have read 23 books this year and it is the beginning of July is crazy. I'm so proud of myself. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on this book, and I will let you know my thoughts along the way. Alright, time for my initial thoughts. I've gotten to chapter 10, so I'm like 50-ish pages in. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear the people doing yard work outside. It's kind of loud. Anyway, I am getting so anxious reading this book. Like, Millie is constantly getting in trouble, and I am someone who can't handle being in trouble. Like, I could not handle the situations that Millie has been put in. No, it's honestly making me anxious. I was going to sit and read for another hour and a half, and then eat some lunch, but I just need a break from the book. So I'm going to eat some lunch, maybe watch an episode of a show, and then I'll get back to reading. It's interesting, it's keeping my attention, but I haven't gotten too far into it, so I don't have like actual thoughts. But those are my first impressions. I should be able to finish this book pretty quickly. Okay, I don't know how much time we have, because I've been scrolling on TikTok for like 15 minutes waiting for my AC to turn off so that I could film this. So we're gonna go real fast. Okay, I am another 10 pages in. I'm at page like 100 at this point, and I have a hypothesis. We have a certain person who seems to be the obvious choice for who's gonna go crazy, start axe murdering people. And then we have the sort of main character, which at first I'm like, maybe she's the crazy one, you know? But now I'm thinking it's this third character. I think that this third character is too perfect. And I think the reason that the one person is going crazy and everyone thinks she's gonna flip out is because of the other character. I'm trying to be vague with this so that the people who've read the book know what I'm talking about. The people who haven't are still like surprised. I don't know. I have never read Frida McFadden. This is my first book that I'm reading of hers, but I know that she's like a crazy genius, and like her books are crazy and the plot twists are insane. So I'm trying to think out of the box on like what's gonna happen, what the plot twist is gonna be, and I think it is. I think it's the person that we're all least expecting. I think that's what it's gonna be. Anxiety has stayed the same. Through eating lunch, through watching an episode of my show, through reading this book, my anxiety has stayed at like a 6 out of 10. So I think I'm just gonna keep reading the book, because it's obviously not making my anxiety worse, but nothing else was making my anxiety better. So that's where I'm at. Oh my goodness, I was so worried. There was this big box that arrived, and it was super heavy, and man of the house opened the box, and he like stepped back and looked like upset. I'm like, it's a dead body. It's a chopped up dead body in the box. It's not. No, nothing like super weird has happened. I mean, obviously weird things have been happening in the book, but nothing like scary, strange. Just like a little mental health issue, maybe. No, false alarm. It was just some baby stuff. Hello, good morning. It is the next day. I got to page 146 yesterday, so not quite halfway. I also adopted a fish for the next few weeks, so everyone say hello, Snape. It is 11 o'clock in the morning, and I have nothing to do today except read. So I am very excited. I would love to sit here all day and finish this book. I have been thinking about this book constantly. Like, I tried to watch some YouTube videos with my husband last night, and I could not pay attention to any of the videos we were watching because all I want to do is read. And this book is holding my attention more than a show, which is not typical with me. I think things are about to get crazy. Or at least I hope so. I apologize. It's kind of cloudy outside, so the lighting is not great. I don't think this is a spoiler because it happens in the first like 5 chapters, but the employer of Millie, who is the housemaid, gets her a sort of smartphone to use because Millie only had like a flip phone, and Nina's like, I want to make sure I can get a hold of you, and so I'm giving you a more reliable phone, and I already put you on our family plan, like it's not a big deal. I keep thinking that like Nina can see what Millie is doing on that phone, and so she keeps doing things on the phone, and I'm like, oh, stop, please stop doing that, please stop looking things up, please stop texting people you shouldn't on your phone. Like, I swear that's gonna be a thing, that like she can see what she's doing on the phone. Oh, it's stressing me out. And I normally listen to ambiances while I read, and I have this like spooky one up. The vibes in here are vibing, and I am getting spooked. Nothing's really happened yet though, nothing like crazy. Okay, another thing we learned pretty early on in the book is that Millie went to prison for a few years, and she like just recently got out, and that's why she's looking for a new job. And she thinks that the person she works for doesn't know about her record. And Nina just said, I'm sure, Nina continues, you never got food like this in prison, did you, Millie? The next line says, mic drop. What? Why would you write that in the book? Mic drop? That is wild. I'm so excited. I just got to part 2. Things are finally happening. I mean, things have been happening the whole book. I've been engaged the whole time, but like nothing creepy has been happening. But the last couple chapters, I felt like my heart beating fast and like the anxiousness of the situation. I'll probably finish this book today. Let's be honest. I am eating it up. And especially now that stressful things are happening, I'm just gonna be like speed reading through this. Remember when I was excited for the book to get interesting and to like get all the thriller aspects and be on my toes and be anxious? This was the wrong kind of anxious. I did know from Faith's review the trigger warnings, and she was right. I do feel very triggered. Let's see, I got like 4 chapters into section 2. I hate it so much. And instead of just being told what happened in the past, actually reading it is terrible. I almost wish she would have just told us what happened in the past and then move on to whatever Millie is gonna go through, you know? But we're now in Nina's perspective, and I hate it so much. I'm like genuinely triggered, and I'm like, okay, is it time for a break? Should I try to tough it out through a couple more chapters and then take a break? I don't know. I got triggered, I got overwhelmed, and so I took like a 2-hour break to watch the Frozen musical that they put on Disney Plus. It was great. Now I'm back to reading, but I only have like 2-ish hours until Romeo gets home, so I'll get close to the end, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish, especially if it's as intense as the last chapter was. I might need to split this up and read it in sections with long breaks in between. I don't like it. I don't like what's happening at all. Like, I obviously knew that that's what was going on after we switched to part 2, but now that she's like saying that that was her plan, it's so uncomfortable. Uncomfortable isn't even the right word. I just don't have the right word in my vocabulary to use. I have gotten to part 3. I assume the last part in the book, and we are back in Millie's perspective, and oh my goodness, am I nervous. I know crap is about to go down. Like, I just read about how terrible this person is, and now I have to do it all again. I'm done. I'm done with this book. I just want to get to the end so I know how everyone got out, and then I am done. I do not want to continue. I don't even know if I want to read the other books in this series. I'll have to sit on that because it has been really interesting and fun. It hasn't been fun. It has actually been very stressful, but it's captured my attention, which is nice. But I don't know that I can follow this story for more than 300 pages. It is too much for me. I think I will definitely go back to Frida McFadden in some of her other books, but I do not know if I'll finish this series. This book is sickening. It's terrible. No. Why is this happening? Like, I understand, kind of, why this is happening, but why is this happening? I only have like 25 pages left. I can do it. I can finish the book. Maybe mystery thriller is just not for me. I don't know if I can handle it. I'm not sure I'm that type of girl. I was about to say what are the chances, but she wrote this book. She could write anything she wanted. What? That's how this is all resolved? No way. What? Can I just stop the book here? Can I not read the last 2 chapters? I don't want to know if... I mean, it's the first in a series, so obviously more stuff happens. I don't want to. Can I not? Here it goes. I have done it. I am done with The Housemaid. Finished it like 5 minutes ago. I have no clue what my thoughts are on this book. I'm not going to give you a rating because I don't even know what I would rate this book yet. I'll give you a rating of all of the books that I read in today's video at the end of the video, so stick around if you want to see what I rated all these books. I really enjoyed reading this book until part 2, and then it just got to be too much for me. I think maybe I'm just not a mystery thriller reader, because I've read a few mystery thrillers and I haven't loved any of them because they get too like graphic and I literally feel sick after reading them, and it's just not fun. Like, I like the anxiety that it gives me in the first half of this book, like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, it's a mystery thriller, obviously something bad is gonna start happening and who's gonna be the bad guy, you know? But I don't like actually reading about the bad stuff. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna rate it yet. I did have a good time reading it and I read it in 2 days, so it's super bingeable. But yeah, I have to sit with this. I have to digest this book and figure out my feelings after that. Hello, my friends. Good morning. I am back. Let's move on to our second book we are going to be reading in today's video, and this book is a 5-star recommendation from Destiny. Destiny is one of the first 3 people that I ever subscribed to on YouTube. It was Destiny, Haley, and Sarah. And if you know one, you know all 3. But her 5-star book is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I have wanted to read this one for so long. Everyone I watch loves Frederick Bachman and his writing. I had this book before I even really knew who Frederick Bachman was, so I am so excited to actually read his work. Her review on Goodreads says, "You have done it again, more review to come." So I did a little research. It said she posted this review on October 23rd, 2024. So I went back in her videos and found an October review of like all of her books that she read in October in 2024, and I watched that video, and she basically said, she said at the end that this was her favorite Frederick Bachman book, which is like huge because I think she's rated all of his books 5 stars, 4 or 5 stars, like they are up there. She said obviously she loves his writing, and she said that when he writes about women, there's like a respectful tone, and he writes women with love, which is amazing. She said it was also a little triggering because it touches on so many like serious topics, but that there are so many point of views, because that's just how Frederick Bachman writes apparently, and she loved every single point of view, and she didn't like one person's point of view over another, which is interesting. I wonder if I'll have the same ideas about the book, because I tend to pick favorites in my books. I tend to pick one favorite person that I like the most, and whenever they show up I get really excited. So I wonder in a book like this where there's a ton of different point of views who I'm going to like the best, or if I will, because Destiny didn't, so maybe I won't either. I think out of everyone I follow, she probably has the most similar taste to me, so I am so excited to read this book. I've been excited, but after hearing Destiny rave about it in her review, I'll try to link that video down below. I don't know how to link specific videos, especially from different creators, so I'll try to do that. If not, you can look back about 7 months and it's a September to October review from her, and you can watch that. I don't know if she read this in a video. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I'll probably start this today. I don't think I'll get super far into it because I do have a migraine, so I'm just gonna be resting most of the day, but I will try to read if I can. That's all for now. See you later. I found it. I found the video where Destiny talked about reading Anxious People. I left it in the other room, so I'm just gonna talk about the book, but we were just talking about it, so you remember, right? She read it in a trying to get out of a book slump video that she posted in October of last year. Other thoughts that she had in that more extensive review of the book rather than just like a wrap up. Now I'm not gonna be able to remember what she said. Oh, one new thing that she said was that not only do we get a bunch of other people's perspectives, there's like 8 different people within the bank robbery scene that we get their point of views of, but there's also a narrator who talks to the reader, which is interesting because I don't think I've read a book where the narrator talks to me. And she was highlighting things from chapter 1. So I am prepared with my little tabs and my tape. I wish I had a yellow tab, but I don't, so I'm probably going to be using my orange tab and my blue tape because those are the colors of the book, is yellow and blue, but I guess we'll go for orange. When I do start the book, those are off to the side. Those are ready for me. I am so excited. If only I felt better, I would be starting right this second. I will see y'all next when I start the book. Hello, happy Sunday. Please ignore the way I look. I know I look rough. Took a nap and my makeup got all messy and I'm about to jump in the shower and it's just a whole thing. But I wanted to give you a little update because I have been reading a little bit today, not too much. I'm only on page 76, which is actually chapter 24, so the chapters are really short. And I'm gonna keep reading today. I just haven't had any like super crazy thoughts, but I did want to give you an update today because I did start reading today. First and foremost, I like it. I am having a very fun time reading it. It takes a lot of brain power. I typically like books that don't take a lot of brain power, like my cute little rom-coms that I can just fly through and it doesn't take much effort. But there are some instances in this book where I like have to go back and reread because I didn't understand something. Frederick Bachman talks a lot in metaphors, I guess. So that I kind of have to click my brain on to like understand exactly what he's trying to get across, and there are so many layers to basically everything he says. I was a little nervous because I know there are so many like different point of views in this book. I was a little nervous that I would get lost, but it's taking a while. It's very slowly bringing us more and more characters into the book. It's stated a few characters that we're going to get point of views from, but we haven't gotten their point of view yet because we're working up to that. We're starting with one character, getting to know them, what drives them, what their life is like, and then we're moving on to another. So that's been really interesting. One thing that I have been picking up from this book, I'm not even 100 pages into the book, but it makes me think, you know, there are characters in books that I hate, that I can't stand, that I think are the worst, but there are characters in this book where I don't like them, I don't like how they act, but then I get into their head and I see why they're acting that way, and it just makes me understand them more. It gives me a soft spot for them. And so I'm thinking back to all these insufferable characters in these books, and I'm like, what is their motivation? What is going on in their life that makes them like this, makes them act this way? And I mean, obviously you can extend that into real life and think of the people who you might not get along with and what drives them, why they're in the point of their life that they are right now. I also feel so bad for this bank robber. Like, he has gone through it. He is in a super tough spot, and he is also like such a sweet guy. Every single one of these characters are so unique. There are definitely lots of trigger warnings in this book, but it's also talked about in like I wouldn't say a light way, because it's not. It is a very heavy topic, and it's talked about in a equally heavy way, but it's split up by so much ridiculousness in this book that it doesn't feel as heavy, which I very much like. I don't know if that'll stay true for the rest of the book, but that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm getting a lot of story, even within the first 70 pages. There is so much that has happened and so much groundwork for the characters that we're going to know and love for the rest of the book. So I am happy to report that even though I was very excited and really hyped to read a Frederick Bachman, it has lived up to that hype. At least so far. Things could change, but I don't see them changing. I'm very much enjoying it. There's a few things to discuss. First of all, look how cute this little guy is. Secondly, I look kind of crazy today. Blue eyeshadow, a little crazy. My bucket list calendar, it's right over there. It wanted me to wear my favorite color today, and I don't own anything orange, which is my favorite color, so I went my second favorite color, which is blue, because that's my husband's eye color, and ever since reading Powerless, I'm like, yes, correct. And then my eyes are green, so I thought we'd go with like a blue and green combo, and so I have blue shimmer on the lid, I've got a green shimmer in the inner corner, I've got yellow underneath. I thought it looked cute. And then I have blue in the waterline with blue mascara. I'm sure no one asked for that. I'm sure no one cares, but I wanted to explain myself. Anyway, the book, still not even halfway through it. This book is, I'm reading it so slowly. It doesn't feel like I'm reading it slowly. I'm getting a lot of information, but I am reading it very slowly. It has me giggling constantly. The interaction that this bank robber has with the people he's holding hostage, so funny. Literally no one is taking this man seriously. And then the little like 90-year-old woman, she's the sweetest. Love her. I just love all the dynamics in this book. I also think it's really interesting that the little puppy is so cute. I think it's interesting how many people are connected in this book. All of them might be connected in some way, but so far we have learned like 4 of the people are like deeply connected from past instances. I don't know, it's just so interesting when these people who all happen to be in this crazy hostage situation like are connected by a single person. I think that's so cool. It's bouncing around a lot. Like, I thought that different chapters would have different people's point of views in them, but it's like different paragraphs have different people's point of views, and normally I would not like that. Normally I would get stressed and confused, but it's written so well and in a way that I can easily understand. It also goes back and forth from past and present constantly, which is another thing that typically annoys me in books. I like to stick to one timeline, and if you need to tell a story about the past, tell it, don't show it, which I know is completely opposite from a lot of people's opinions, but that's just mine. I don't know, just something about the writing is making this very enjoyable, even though it has so many things that I typically don't like in books. Anyway, those are just some of the thoughts that I was thinking as I was reading, so I thought I would share. You know it's a good book when you're not even halfway through the book and you start rereading everything you've tabbed and almost start crying because one of the tabs. I got my Dr. Pepper, I sat back down, and before I started reading, I flipped to the last thing that I annotated, which is an entire page starting from here going to here. I got through one paragraph and there were tears in my eyes. And I'm like, not me going back to my annotations before I've even finished the book. This book is changing me. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to reading. Good morning, sleepyheads. Can I just say real fast, I'm going to be so sad when that series is over. What, there's only like 8 days left? Ugh. But I thought that was fitting to start this section of the reading vlog with a good morning, sleepyheads, because today we are going to be starting a 5-star book by none other than Haley Pham. But before we get into that, I am jumping ahead of myself because if we're starting a new book, obviously we've finished the previous book, which first of all means that I have reached my reading goal for 2025. That was me waiting for your applause. Anyway, it is July 22nd, and I finished my entire 2025 reading goal, which is insane. This year has been such a hard year for me mentally, and the fact that I get to say so early on in the year that I completed something that I have been working towards is just so amazing. I'm even thinking about making a cake for hitting my goal just because I have 50 and 50 in my mind constantly. Let's talk about anxious people because I have thoughts. I did not think I was going to be finishing this book yesterday. I thought I would get about halfway in the book, and instead I ended up reading almost 300 pages. I read 254 pages of this book yesterday. That is crazy. That is the most pages I've read in a day probably all year, at least in the last like 2 months. That is the most pages that I have read in a day. That is insane. Something happens on page like 200 which makes you feel like you have figured it out. It makes you feel like the characters have figured everything out, and that how in the world are there still 150 pages left because we just solved every mystery in the book. And Frederick Bachman has a way of writing that makes you feel so certain that you figured it out, that you know what the rest of the book is gonna hold, and then he just curveballs everything. There were so many plot twists in the end of this book that I did not see coming, and I did get a little bored once I thought I had figured out what was gonna happen. I was like, okay, now we're just listening to people talk, which is wonderful because Frederick Bachman has a way of writing where it's not just the story that pulls you in, but it's the hidden meanings within the passage of text. But I did get a little bored because I'm like, I figured it out. We can just skip to the end. Then I was pulled right back in with more plot twists and more development and more character ties, and it was just, and the end of this book literally made me cry. Just like a few tears fell, and I felt so whole and seen reading this book. Oh, it was so good, and the ending was just so perfect. Everything wrapped up in a nice little bow. I truly do love like every character in this book. Like Destiny was saying, like I was attached to every single person. There were like 10, 11 point of views that you got, and every single one, like I wanted to know what that person had to say, what their life was like what they were going through. This is a work of art. I'm just thinking about all the plot twists that happened. There was one so big that I literally had to go back to previous chapters and like reread because I'm like, how did I not know? I want to read you some quotes. And we know that it's very common for people suffering from depression to be afraid of feeling happy, because even depression can be a sort of secure bubble. It can make you think, if I'm not unhappy, if I'm not angry, who am I then? No one can go to 2,000 apartment viewings and not realize that there's more love in the world than the opposite. What do you base that on? All the apartments that aren't for sale. That's the power of literature, you know? It can act like a love letter between people who can only explain their feelings by pointing at other people's. That's why I love books so much, because it explains the feelings that I'm feeling in better words than I can come up with. Now, like I said, the next recommendation, the next 5-star book comes from Haley Pham, and on Goodreads, all it says is, yeah, in all caps. And I looked back through her videos around the time that she posted this review, and I don't think she has a video on this book. So that's all the information we're getting from Haley. But the book is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I don't know anything about this book, to be honest. I was then going to tell you what I know about the book, but I literally can't think of anything. So let's read it. My family and I also started a book club, and I had this be our first book club book. So, killing two birds with one stone here. Yeah, I really don't have much to say. Haley didn't either. She just loved it. So I guess I'll start reading, and I will give you updates along the way on how I'm liking the book. I just put an eye drop in, so don't mind the fact that it looks like I'm crying. I am having the hardest time starting this book. I've been sat here for 15 minutes, haven't even opened it. I've just been scrolling on TikTok, watching people's reviews on Anxious People. So how am I gonna start another one when I'm still not over the one I just read? Send help. I also only got like 4 hours of sleep last night, so I'm gonna take a nap after about an hour of reading, but I just need to get started. For some reason, it has been so incredibly difficult for me to get into this book. It has been 4 days since I finished Anxious People, and I am not even 80 pages into this book. I don't know if it's because Anxious People was so great and encapsulating that mentally I'm still there. Maybe Anxious People put me into a little bit of a book slump. You know, I've also been reading a lot of books in a very small amount of time. Maybe I'm just burnt out from reading. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's the book itself, because it is very interesting. There are things happening, but right now I just don't care. I forced myself to at least get to part 2, so I've read through part 1. There was a lot happening, especially for this to be a fantasy book. I feel like normally the first 100 pages is just introducing the world, and this book was not like that. From the jump, it was thing after thing after thing happening. But also at the same time, I feel a little overwhelmed by the storyline, because in the first 75 pages, like 3 massive things have happened, and they all have a tie, but they are all so different that I'm a little lost, a little confused. But I just thought I would give you all a little update, because I did finish part 1, and that was like my goal. I'm gonna get to part 1 and then I'm gonna share an update. We did that. I'm going to try to get to part 2 today. I mean, that's a big chunk of this book. Oh wow, that is a big jump. I'm not gonna get to part 3 today. JK on that. To reach my goal of finishing the 3 books I had in 2 weeks, I have to get to part 3 today and then finish the book tomorrow, which is not gonna happen. My goal for today, my realistic goal for today, is 5 chapters of this book. I can do that, I can manage that, and then hopefully by that point I will be sucked in enough to just keep reading. Hello, I am back. It has been a few days. close to a week at this point. I don't remember. Anyway, it has been so insanely difficult to pick up this book and to start reading, but I finally did. I'm about 100 pages in, and at first it was really hard to keep reading because I felt like there wasn't anything pulling for my attention. Like, there was a lot happening, but there weren't any like high stakes in it, so I didn't really care. But I just finished chapter 15, and now like I'm itching to know more. Like, I still don't quite understand what's happening and I want to, so that is a good sign. My favorite part of this book so far has been the atmosphere that it's created. It's so much magical scenery and stories, and I love where we are in the book right now. Like, it's so cool. Like, every scene has something magical and something interesting about it. It's been really fun. I want to experience this world for myself because it seems so cool. Jax, I can't get a read on him. Like, at the moment I'm thinking I don't like him, even though I know that later on we will learn to love him. Right now, I don't like him very much. This is probably so out of left field, but he kind of reminds me of Edward just a little bit. Way his eyes change color. We don't know why his eyes change color, but I'm really interested to figure out why his eyes change color. And she was even like holding onto his arm as they were walking up some stairs, and he was described as cold and hard. And that's just giving Edward vibes, which I am all for. But the fact that he calls her little fox, hate that. No. It would be okay if he called her Fox, because that's her last name. And so I feel like it'd be fine. It would be like just him calling her by her last name. But the fact that he puts little in front of it, my little fox, I'm like, ew. Please don't do that. I'm not loving even the whole like plot of this book so far. Basically, she makes this deal with Jax, one of the main characters, where she has to kiss 3 people, apparently of his choosing. And like, she just kissed the first person. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it. Like, they're explaining the kiss, and I'm like, I'm stressed. Like, I don't know why she's kissing them. I don't know what's gonna happen to them once she kisses them. And I don't like this like detailed, intimate kiss when she's just doing it because she has to. I've finally gotten to section 3, part 3 of this book. You guys, it has taken me so long to get here. I have some thoughts. I am not loving it. I'm not loving how things are playing out. Like, I knew that something had to happen, like what I just read at the end of part 2. But I didn't want it to. I hate that that was the solution. The last time I talked to you guys was like a week and a half ago. So I don't remember what I last said to you. So many thoughts and so little thoughts all at the same time. I feel uncomfortable by how this book is playing out. I don't like it. I don't like the storyline we're following. I feel like the main character of this book is in the wrong story. Does that make sense? Like, this person with her attributes and just who she is, I feel like should not be in this story. Like, she shouldn't be the main character. I feel like in a story like this, I would assume the main character to be much more heroic instead of just going along and, you know, she's doing the best she can. I don't think she is bad. I think she really is doing the best she can with the information she has. But I've never read a fantasy book where this type of person is the main character. And I think I even told you guys earlier that I see myself, like a lot of myself, in this main character. I would not fare well in here. And she's not either. I feel like she would be in one of my, like, contemporary fictions that I read. You know, I feel like she would fare well there, but here she just doesn't have the personality to be the heroine. And maybe that's because she hasn't gone through that character growth. There are 3 books, I believe, in this series, so I could be totally wrong and she could rise to the occasion. But so far, I'm like, are you lost, sweetheart? Are you are you doing okay? Because I don't think she is. I don't know. I hated the whole first kiss situation, how that happened, how it played through, how it ended. That whole situation I hated, which was basically the majority of this book. Or at least all of part 2 was like that situation. So I didn't like part 2, and I couldn't really get into part 1 because there was just like a lot happening and not a lot of explanation, which we never really got explanation even as the story went on. And maybe because of the scene change from part 1 and part 2, it just feels like 2 different stories. So when I think back to reading part 1, I'm like, that's a completely different book, is it not? Like, it just feels so different than what we're reading right now. And I wonder how part 3 is going to work. And also, the whole, like, prophecy thing, it felt like it was going to be a lot more instantaneous. She tried to get the information to know if she should go through with the big thing. Couldn't find the information, so she went through with the big thing. And then I figured the whole world was going to blow up or something huge was going to happen, and it really didn't. I mean, part 3 I'm sure is going to be crazy, and my mom just read it. She said it ended on a big cliffhanger, which of course it did because it's the first in the series, but I don't know. It has been almost 3 whole weeks since I started this book, but tonight I finally finished it. Oh my goodness, you guys, I have no clue what I even think about this book. I can't decide if I hated it or if it was kind of good. Maybe it can get better in the next few books. I really tried to like this book, which is maybe why I can't quite tell what I think about it yet. Well, first of all, it took me 3 weeks to read, and I had just gotten out of a slump. I was reading pretty fast, and I listened to 2.5 audiobooks in the time it took me to read this book because I do not care about these characters, and I don't really like the things that have been happening either. I'm gonna figure out my thoughts, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Give you an overview of the books, what I thought about this whole video, and a little outro. I have officially finished all 3 of the books that we are going to be reading in today's video. It was a journey, for sure. A little recap just for me, because this has been weeks in the making. The Housemaid took me like 2 days to read. I flew through it. It was crazy. The plot twists were plot twisting, and as I've been thinking about it, I think I might want to continue the series. Anxious People, amazing. I loved it. Also finished it in like 2-3 days. It was better than I expected, honestly. And Once Upon a Broken Heart took me 3 weeks to read. Did not like this one very much, which is upsetting because I was really excited about this one. My final ratings for these books. The Housemaid, suggested to me by Faith. I gave it 4 stars. A great mystery thriller. I don't think I am a mystery thriller reader. I think I'm more of like a cozy mystery type of reader. But for what it was fantastic. So 4 stars. Anxious People, recommended to me by Destiny, 5 stars. Absolutely loved this book. It was so good. I am still thinking about the characters. Actually, both of these, I am still thinking about the characters and like their journeys. It was crazy. Loved those. Once Upon a Broken Heart, recommended to me by Haley. I'm giving this one a 2 star. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. I'm not sure. I couldn't follow the plot very well. I didn't care about the characters very much. It was just kind of meh for me. So 2 stars for this one. Plus it took me 3 whole weeks to read, which is insane. Overall, pretty great scores. I loved 2 of the 3 books. I think that's pretty good. If you enjoy bookish content, I would definitely suggest going and checking out the people who I mentioned in today's video. I'll link them down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. This was so much fun for me, something I've been wanting to do for a while, so I'm glad I got to do it. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you next time. The only person I trust in this book at this point is Enzo. I really I'm looking like a raccoon right now. And I was like, wait, with my hair down and the blue eyeshadow, I'm kind of giving Donna during Super Trooper in the first movie. Main character, she seems really cute and fun. She has pink hair. How cool is that? A hummingbird. I love hummingbirds. Oh, it's so cute.